There are moments in life when you feel like something inside has gone out, as if a dream that once filled your heart with hope is now buried under the weight of frustration, time, or disappointment. And maybe you're here because, in silence, you wonder if it's still worth believing, if it's still possible to rise again when what you longed for seems to have died. Sometimes the battle isn't external, it's internal. It's that feeling that there is no motivation left, no strength left, that you no longer know how to start again. But even on those days when the soul feels tired, there is a message that God wants to speak to you today, a message that is not theory, but life. A message for real people who have lost something important, who stopped dreaming, who feel stuck and don't know what comes next. And I want to tell you something from the heart, right here in front of you, without rushing. What you're about to hear may become that breath of fresh air you needed. Not because things change magically, but because when God touches a broken area, that area comes back to life. Because what died for you is still material for miracles for Him. And if you stay with me until the end, you may discover that there is still hope for you, that there are still open paths you haven't seen, that there is still life for what you thought was over. If this message reaches your heart, I invite you to like, comment, and share. That helps YouTube recommend this video to more people who also need it, people who maybe don't have another place to seek God. Your support can be a great blessing to someone who feels alone today. And if you want to comment something, I suggest leaving this short phrase that comes from the theme of the video, living dreams. Now prepare your heart, open your mind, and let this message walk with you. And stay until the end, because that moment may be the most special part of the whole video, one of those moments when something inside you begins to awaken again. Part 1. When you feel like something died inside you. Sometimes you don't know the exact moment when everything broke. You just know that one day you woke up and no longer had the same strength to try what once made your heart vibrate. It didn't happen suddenly, it wasn't a dramatic event, it was simply a silent wear that accumulated little by little. And maybe it has happened to you that when you look back, you wonder how you reached this state, how you got used to living without that dream that once ignited your soul. It's as if you gave up without realizing it, as if life moved forward while you stayed still on the inside. Finding hope when your dreams have died is not simple, it's not quick, it's not automatic. It requires speaking honestly, recognizing that something hurts, accepting that something faded, and that you need God to intervene. Because when a dream breaks, it's not only plans that break, identity breaks, encouragement breaks, confidence breaks, the way you see yourself breaks. You feel like you failed, like you fell behind, like you didn't take advantage of opportunities, or that it's already too late. And that thought sinks in so deeply that it makes you believe that, no, there's nothing left to do there. But here is the beautiful part. God does not see the way you see. He doesn't give up where you gave up. He doesn't close chapters where you thought everything had ended. There is a passage in the Bible that describes that feeling of life drying up inside. It's in Ezekiel chapter 37, when the prophet sees a valley full of dry bones. Imagine that scene for a moment. A vast valley, silent, without a single trace of life. It was the perfect representation of a dead dream. But what is surprising is that God takes Ezekiel to that place precisely to show him something. Because sometimes the only way God can teach us to believe again is by letting us face what we thought had no solution. He doesn't do it to destroy you. He does it to open your eyes to a truth you forgot. What looks finished to you is not finished for Him. And I want you to notice something. God didn't ask Ezekiel whether the bones were dry, that was obvious. The question was deeper. Son of man, will these bones live? That is exactly the question God asks when you are standing before your broken dream. He doesn't ask if it hurts. He doesn't ask if you made mistakes. He doesn't ask how much time has passed. He asks if you believe He can give life again where you no longer see life. And it's strong because Ezekiel didn't answer with certainty. He answered saying, Lord, you know, a humble response, an honest one. The response of someone who accepts that he can no longer do it but believes that God can. Maybe you're like that. Maybe you don't have full faith. Maybe you only have a small thread left, a tiny spark, just a barely. Lord, you know. And let me tell you something, that is enough. God doesn't need you to have all the faith in the world. He just needs you to be willing to give him your pain, your exhaustion, your hopelessness, the little you have left. He does the rest. Because when God speaks over a dead area, that area comes back to life. It doesn't matter how long it has been dry. It doesn't matter how many times you failed. It doesn't matter how many opportunities you believe you lost. The voice of God is stronger than the death of a dream. And sometimes finding hope begins with something very simple. Stop running from your pain. When a dream collapses, you protect yourself, you close off, you harden. You reach the point where you say, no, I don't want to try again, no, I don't want to hope again, no, I prefer staying like this because at least I won't suffer again. But that no spoken from fear becomes a prison. It keeps you breathing, but not living. It keeps you moving, but without purpose. And God wants to take you out of there. Look at this calmly. In that valley of dry bones, God not only promised life, he also promised restoration. He said he would join tendons, put flesh, form complete bodies, and breathe life into them. That means that when God raises a dream, he doesn't raise it weak or incomplete. He raises it strong, renewed, and with purpose. He doesn't revive what harmed you. He revives what shapes you, what moves you, what connects you with his plan. Maybe what died wasn't the dream itself, but your previous version. Maybe that version of you could no longer carry the purpose that is coming. Maybe God allowed something to fade so you could see what he really wanted to build. And I know it sounds hard, but sometimes God allows a dream to die so you can discover a bigger one, a more real one more aligned with his will. It's not punishment, it's direction. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not loss, it's preparation. And here comes something important I want you to reflect on with me. Hope is not found by looking at what has already passed, but by looking at who is with you now. Hope is born when you remember that God is still God, that his power doesn't diminish, that his hand doesn't delay, that his love doesn't run out, that even if you are tired, he isn't, that even if you closed a chapter, he can open a new one. If today you feel like your dreams died, don't punish yourself, don't point fingers at yourself, don't declare yourself incapable. Breathe, accept what happened, but don't stay there, because the same God who lifted Ezekiel before the dry bones wants to lift you before what you thought was lost. He didn't bring you this far to leave you on the ground, not to crush you, not to reduce you, but to show you that there is still life, still purpose, still a path. And this is the first step to finding hope. Accepting your valley, acknowledging your pain, and allowing God to speak over what died. Because when he speaks, something revives. When he touches, something awakens. And when he decides to lift you up, nothing and no one can stop what is coming. Part 2. When what you lost changes you on the inside. There is a truth almost no one says out loud, but we all feel it at some point. When a dream dies, you don't just lose what you wanted to accomplish, you also lose a part of yourself. And that part that goes away hurts, it weighs, it leaves a strange emptiness you don't know how to fill. People sometimes tell you to move on, to not think about it, to remember that God is in control. And while all of that is true, it is also true that the soul needs to understand what it's going through. It needs to process it. It needs to be heard before it can rise again. Because when a dream breaks, you change. The way you see life changes, the way you talk to yourself changes, your patience changes, your energy changes, your confidence changes. It's not a simple "it didn't work out." It's an internal grief no one talks about. And maybe you've lived that grief alone, without telling anyone, feeling like you didn't have the right to be sad because it was just a dream. But it wasn't just a dream. It was part of your story, part of your heart, part of your identity. And losing that leaves real marks. This is where hope begins to take on a different meaning, because hope is not ignoring what happened, it's not pretending it didn't hurt, it's not covering the wound with pretty phrases. Hope begins when you accept that God is with you right there. In your lowest point, in your deepest emptiness, in that place where you no longer know what to do. God doesn't expect you to arrive strong, he expects you to arrive sincere. He knows you're hurting, he knows you're tired, he knows you're wondering why everything happened. He knows you don't have all the answers and maybe not even the strength to ask questions. And even so, he comes close, not to pressure you, but to accompany you, not to demand explanations, but to heal what you cannot heal. Because even though you changed on the inside, he does not change. Even though you feel weaker, he is still strong. And even though you no longer know how to begin again, he is still the God who lifts people from the ruins. Think about this calmly. When Jesus arrived at Lazarus's tomb, everyone thought it was too late. Time had passed, too much time for them. And maybe today, you also think too much time has passed for your dream, that the opportunities are gone, that life moved on without you, that your age, your time, your strength are not the same. But Jesus did not arrive late. He arrived at the exact moment to show his power, not to make a repair, but to show resurrection. Because where you see delay, God sees preparation. Where you see loss, God sees fertile ground. Where you see something finished, God sees a space ready for a miracle. And there is something even deeper. For Lazarus to resurrect, he first had to die. And sometimes, for God to take you into a new season, something in you must also die, not to destroy you, but to make room for something better. Because sometimes the dream you want is not the dream you need. And God, in his love, allows certain things to fade so that you can see his hand in something greater. It's hard to accept, but many times what died wasn't your future, it was your attachment. It wasn't your purpose, it was your fear. It wasn't your calling, it was a version of yourself that no longer fits what he wants to build. The death of a dream makes you reevaluate everything. It makes you examine your priorities, your strength, your limits. It makes you realize you were carrying things that didn't belong to you. It opens your eyes to parts of yourself you weren't paying attention to. Because a dream can be good, but when it makes you lose your peace, your essence, your rest, it stops being healthy. God doesn't want you to pursue something that destroys you slowly. He wants you to walk toward what gives you life, purpose, stability, and growth. This is where real hope begins. Not when everything is fixed, but when you start understanding that what you lost is also teaching you. That the emptiness you feel is not the end. It is a space where God wants to plant something new. That what you thought he took from you is actually protecting you. That what you no longer have is not necessarily what you need. And even though that sounds beautiful, living it is not easy. Because your mind tells you it's no longer possible, your heart tells you it's no longer worth it, and your exhaustion tells you it's better to stay where you are. But God tells you there is still life for you, that your story does not end here, that his purpose did not stop at the moment your dream died. On the contrary, many times it is right there where your greatest growth begins. There is a key word here, transformation. When something dies in your life, you change. But that transformation can become something precious when you give it to God. He can take your loss and turn it into wisdom. He can take your sadness and turn it into compassion. He can take your emptiness and turn it into dependence on him. He can take your pain and turn it into a powerful testimony. It all depends on one decision, allowing God to enter what broke. Not what you pretend, not what you show, not what you claim is fine. What is truly broken, what hurts to remember, what you're ashamed to admit, what you don't know how to heal. He is not going to reject you there. He is not going to judge you there. He is not going to tell you no because you failed. He is going to enter gently, patiently, lovingly, truthfully, and he is going to begin working from the inside where true resurrection begins. This is how you find hope when a dream dies. Not by forcing yourself to be strong, not by forcing yourself to smile, not by pretending everything is okay, but by allowing God to transform what hurt so you can see what's coming with new eyes, with a renewed heart, with a deeper faith. Part 3. The silence of God and the internal battle no one sees. There is a stage that comes after a dream dies, and it is one of the hardest to go through, the silence. That time when God seems not to speak, not to respond, not to open doors like before, and you're left with the feeling of being in a dark room where you don't know whether to move forward, step back, or stay still. That silence is not just the absence of answers, it is the presence of too many questions. And in that silence, the mind fills with thoughts that do not always come from God, thoughts that tell you there is no purpose anymore, no reason to get up, no plan left for your life. That silence can become such a heavy weight that it steals your strength, your clarity, and even your faith. Because no, it is not easy to believe when you don't see anything. It is not easy to trust when you don't feel anything. It is not easy to keep going when everything seems stuck. And this is where many people give up. Not because they don't love God, but because they don't know what to do with the waiting. The waiting becomes a desert, and the desert feels like abandonment. But I want you to understand something deeply, something that can change you from within. The silence of God is not rejection, it is formation. God does not become silent to destroy you. He becomes silent to develop you. When God is quiet, He is not far away. He is working in areas you don't see yet. You see the absence of noise, but He sees internal construction. You see time passing, but He sees your character being shaped. You see a dead dream, but He is preparing resurrection. In the Bible, Joseph went through long seasons of silence, unfair, confusing, painful silences. He experienced betrayal, abandonment, and false accusations. But in that silence, God was forming him for a position he couldn't have imagined yet. Because sometimes what you ask for is not ready, and sometimes what God is going to give you requires you not to remain the same either. For that, formation is necessary. Preparation is necessary. The process is necessary. The hard part is that while you're in that silence, the internal battle intensifies. Comparisons begin. Frustration begins. The thought that others are moving forward, succeeding, fulfilling their dreams while you feel everything in your life is standing still. That thought begins to grow. And this is where your heart needs a solid truth. Your story does not run on the same clock as everyone else's. What God is doing with you is not defined by the world's hurry. He works at a different rhythm, perfect, aligned to your calling, not to your expectations. But it is also true that in that internal battle, a silent enemy appears. Guilt. Guilt for not having done more. Guilt for making wrong decisions. Guilt for giving up. Guilt for feeling like you wasted time. Guilt for not taking care of that dream when you had the chance. And that guilt weighs on you, pulls you down, paralyzes you. But listen clearly. God does not condemn you. God restores you. What you call guilt, He calls teaching. What you call loss, He calls process. What you call the end, He calls transition. God is not punishing you, God is preparing you. And if it feels like He is taking a long time, remember this. What He builds does not collapse easily. What is built slowly lasts. What is built with Him endures. And even if you don't hear His voice, He is speaking over your life. Even if you don't feel His hand, He is holding you. Even if you don't see open doors, He is working on what's to come. There is a beautiful detail often overlooked when we talk about the silence of God. In the story of Elijah, after great miracles and moments of victory, came a season of persecution and exhaustion so deep that he asked God to let him die. The same prophet who had seen the powerful hand of God was now so tired that he didn't want to continue. And what did God do? He didn't rebuke him. He didn't shame him. He didn't say, "No, get up and be strong." He did something more tender, more profound. He gave him rest. He gave him food. He strengthened him in silence. And he led him to a mountain where he spoke to him, not through the strong wind, nor the earthquake, nor the fire, but through a gentle whisper. That gentle whisper is how God speaks when you are most wounded. When a dream dies, God does not shout at you, He whispers. When you are tired, He does not demand, He accompanies. When you feel empty, He does not push, He embraces. Because God is not interested in pressuring you, He is interested in rebuilding you. The silence of God is a workshop, not punishment, not abandonment. A workshop where He works on your heart, your vision, your character, your capacity to trust, your spiritual sensitivity, and although you may not notice it immediately, when you come out of that place, you will not be the same. You will come out stronger, wiser, more aware of who He is and who you are in Him. And here is something very important. A dead dream can make you believe that you are also dead inside. But no, you are still alive. What died was a season, not your destiny. What died was a plan, not your purpose. What died was the idea you had, not the one God has. He is not finished with you, even if you feel like you have no strength left. Hope returns slowly, but it returns. It returns when you remember you are not alone. It returns when you understand that God is still with you. It returns when you accept that silence is not an eternal pause, but preparation for what's coming. It returns when you decide to trust even when you don't understand everything. It returns when you begin to see that even in the silence, God is working on something for you. Part 4, when God begins to rebuild you from the inside. We've reached a crucial stage, one of the most silent, but also one of the deepest. The moment when God begins to work inside of you, not in your circumstances, but within your inner being. And although you don't always notice it, this is where true resurrection begins. Because the restoration of a dream doesn't start on the outside, it starts in the heart. And in order to rebuild you, God doesn't begin with what is visible, He starts with what no one sees. When a dream dies, your inner world is wounded. It becomes worn out, sensitive, fragile. It's as if a hollow space is left inside you that you don't know how to fill. And this is where God enters with a gentleness we often overlook. He doesn't rebuild quickly. He rebuilds deeply. He doesn't restore on the surface. He restores from the roots. He doesn't give you a spiritual patch. He gives you a true transformation. The first thing God begins to work on is your vision, because when a dream breaks, the way you see your future breaks as well. You begin to imagine a life without purpose, a limited life, a life where you no longer expect anything great. And that thought becomes so normal that you don't even question whether God still has something more for you. You simply assume He doesn't. But God, before lifting you up, has to correct how you are seeing. He has to teach you again to see with faith, not with fear, with hope, not with resignation, with purpose, not with defeat. Think about this. Jesus asked the blind man at Bethsaida if he saw anything after touching him the first time, and he said he saw people as trees walking. His sight was real, but blurry. And Jesus touched him again. What does this mean for you? That you may have tried to get up again. You may have wanted to believe again. You may have tried to see the future with faith, but your vision is still blurry, still weak, still confused. And that's okay. God doesn't judge you for that. He will touch you again, and He will keep touching you until you can clearly see what He sees. The second thing God rebuilds is your heart, because a dead dream leaves wounds that aren't visible but remain open. It leaves fear, mistrust, insecurities. It makes you think that if you dream again, it will hurt again. It makes you believe you are insufficient, that you don't have what it takes, that you are no longer worth what you once believed, and God cannot build something new over a heart full of fear. He cannot place new dreams over a heart that feels unworthy. All of that must be healed, transformed, restored. Sometimes we think restoration is simply receiving something new, but true restoration is when God gives you back the ability to believe, to trust, to rise again, when God returns to you the confidence you lost, when He removes fear and gives you peace, when He shows you that you are not alone, that His hand is still over you, even when you lost your grip on Him. This is where His love becomes evident, because He will not let your wounds define your future. The third thing God rebuilds is your identity, because when the dream breaks, you break too. You ask yourself who you are without that thing you wanted to achieve. You wonder if you are still valuable, still useful, still purposeful. And God begins to remind you who you truly are. Not who you were when you felt strong, not who you were when you were motivated, not who you were when everything was going well, but who you are to Him, even in your weakest moment. He reminds you that you are still His child, that you are still called, that you are still chosen, that you are still loved, and that your worth does not depend on what you accomplished, but on who created you. Sometimes the death of a dream reveals that you are building your identity on something unstable, and God wants you to build it on Him, on something that does not change, break, or wear out. It's also common in this stage for God to reveal areas of yourself you hadn't seen. He shows you patterns, fears, emotional attachments, insecurities that were hidden behind your dream because the dream was big, but your heart wasn't ready. And God doesn't want you to achieve something your character cannot sustain. He doesn't want to give you only a dream. He wants to give you maturity to live out the purpose without losing yourself along the way. And if you think about it, this part of the process is the one most similar to being reborn, Because God is not reviving the same dream exactly as you lost it. He is reviving you. And when you come back to life, everything around you begins to awaken as well. When your heart beats with hope again, your purpose begins to breathe. When your vision becomes clear, you start seeing doors where before you only saw walls. When your identity is affirmed, you no longer fear trying again. The beautiful thing is that God does not force you to move forward. He simply holds you while you heal. He guides you while He rebuilds. He fills you while you empty yourself of the old, and before you realize it, one day you wake up and notice that you no longer think the same, that it no longer hurts the same, that you no longer fear the same, that something inside you has been reignited. That is the beginning of an inner resurrection. And let me tell you something else, something you may have never heard. Sometimes when God rebuilds your inner world, you don't notice it because you expected big signs, but God works in the deep, not in the loud. He doesn't do emotional explosions. He does silent transformations. He doesn't shake you to heal you. He restores you from the inside, layer by layer, wound by wound, thought by thought. You're not going backward. You're not stuck. You're under construction. And a person under construction is not failing. They are being prepared for something greater. Part 5. The moment when God invites you to let go of what no longer belongs to you. There is a part of the process that is usually the most painful because it touches the root of what we truly carry inside. It is that moment when God tells you, with love but with firmness, that you need to let go of what you keep trying to revive by your own strength. Letting go is not forgetting. Letting go is not stopping loving what you wanted. Letting go is not renouncing your essence. Letting go is surrendering to God, the control of something that no longer belongs to you. When a dream dies, it is normal for you to try to revive it out of pride, fear, habit, or pain. Sometimes you remain tied to something that already ended because it makes you feel safe, because it was part of your identity, because you needed to believe that it depended on you. And even though your heart knows that something has closed, your mind insists on holding on, as if letting go meant losing. But in God's kingdom, letting go is not losing, it is allowing Him to intervene. It is making space for His hand to do what you can no longer do. Look at what happens many times. You cling to a dream because you think there is no future without it. You cling to it because you believe that was the only path you cling, because you think that if you let go, there will be nothing else. But God never works from scarcity. God does not take you from one season to another by removing purpose from you. He always replaces what leaves with something deeper, wiser, more aligned, more prepared for you. In His kingdom, nothing is lost. Everything is transformed. Letting go does not mean destroying what you wanted. It means stopping carrying what is not in your hands. It means recognizing that life is not sustained by human strength, but by divine direction. It means accepting that it is not you who makes things work, but God who opens doors, moves hearts, changes times, organizes seasons, and raises what must be raised. But there is something deeper here. Many times you cannot let go of a dead dream because you think that letting go is admitting failure. You think that if you let it go, you are saying you were not enough. You think that if you release it, others will talk, others will judge, others will be right. But God does not ask you to let go so that others understand. He asks you to let go so that you can be free. What people think does not define your purpose. What you lost does not take value away from you. What did not work does not make you less loved. Letting go is not failure. Letting go is spiritual maturity. Think about Abraham for a moment. God promised him a descendant as numerous as the stars. And when he finally had Isaac, when that dream finally became real, God asked him to surrender him, not because He wanted to take him away, but because He wanted to teach an eternal truth. No dream should take God's place in your heart, because when a dream becomes your security, it stops being a dream and becomes a burden. And God does not want you to live burdened. He wants you to live with confidence. Abraham climbed that mountain with a broken heart. He didn't understand. He had no answers. He didn't know why God was allowing something so painful. But even so, he went up. And when he arrived, God stopped everything. Because what he wanted was not to take Isaac from him, it was to take away his fear. He was not trying to break his promise. He was trying to strengthen his faith. And God does the same with you. He does not want to take away what you love. He wants to free you from what imprisons you. He wants to teach you to trust without fear, to walk without anxiety, to rest without obsessing about the outcome. When you release what has died, what no longer moves, what no longer belongs to the season you're in, something begins to move in heaven. Because God never acts while you are still holding on to the old. His hand is revealed when you open yours. His will is expressed when you admit that you can't do it anymore. His grace is activated when you say, Lord, here is what I no longer know how to handle. Letting go also means recognizing that you cannot control God's timing. You wanted something to happen earlier. You wanted to achieve it sooner. You wanted it to happen when you still had strength, motivation, clarity. But God does not work under your calendar. He works under His. And God's calendar always arrives on time, even if it does not match your expectation. Here is a truth that deeply heals. God loves you too much to let you remain tied to something that is hurting you. He loves you too much to allow a dream that no longer belongs to you to consume you. He loves you too much to let you live from the past. He wants you to look forward. He wants you to make space. He wants you to be able to receive the new with free hands and a light heart. And here comes a beautiful part of God's character. He never asks you to let go of something without already having something better prepared. Not equal, better, not similar, deeper, not close, more aligned. But as long as you keep holding on to what has died, you will not be able to see what is coming. And what is coming could be the missing piece, the season you were waiting for, the purpose that was forming in you, the blessing you had not yet seen. Letting go also helps you see that your value does not depend on what you achieve. You are valuable even when something falls apart. You are loved even when something ends. You still have purpose even when you lost something big. God does not look at you through your results. He looks at your heart. And a heart surrendered before Him is a heart ready for a new chapter. And here I want to tell you something you must keep. Do not be afraid to let go of what no longer breathes, because what God will raise afterward will have life, strength, backing, and purpose. A dead dream may hurt, but a new purpose can heal everything that broke. Heal.